Hello, all you freedom-loving people. Apple agreed to make a $500 billion investment in the U.S., and Russia and Ukraine are both willing to make multi-billion-dollar mineral deals. But what is Canada going to do? Okay, let's get into it. A federal judge on Monday denied a request by the Associated Press to issue a temporary injunction to restore the news agency's access to the White House, the Oval Office, and Air Force One. The media outlet had its access restricted because it refused to use the name Gulf of America after President Trump ordered a change in the name from the Gulf of Mexico. The Associated Press filed a lawsuit last week naming White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, Deputy Chief of Staff Taylor Budowich, and Chief of Staff Susan Wiles as defendants and alleging that the government violated the First Amendment. The Associated Press also alleged that this is a violation of its Fifth Amendment right to due process. The White House argued that the Associated Press continues to enjoy general press access like any other media outlet. The government stated that the Associated Press has no special right to unfettered access to the president's exclusive gatherings. Most journalists have no routine access to the Oval Office, Air Force One, or the president's home at Mar-a-Lago. The White House also cited precedent cases that the president does not need to have contact with journalists or provide them with special access, and reporters are sometimes denied access because an official believes them to be unobjective. U.S. District Judge Trevor McFadden agreed with the government. He told the court that there were several reasons he denied the Associated Press's request. He questioned how much irreparable harm the Associated Press would suffer because the news media would have access to the same information, whether they were in the room where the incident occurred or not. The Associated Press also waited 10 days to file their case, which showed that the case was not particularly urgent, McFadden noted. McFadden also said he was not inclined to act precipitously with regard to the executive office of the president. However, even though this judge denied the request to issue the temporary restraining order, he scheduled another hearing for March 20th to hear arguments from the Associated Press on the application for a preliminary injunction. French President Emmanuel Macron and President Trump held a press conference after their meeting on Monday. Macron seemed to accept President Trump's view that a ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia would be reached soon. He said, "First of all, the ceasefire is important. I think this can be accomplished in the next few weeks," and that's exactly what President Trump has been saying.
I think the war could end soon.
How soon?
Within weeks. European troops may go into Ukraine as peacemakers. So when the agreement is done, they can watch that everything's followed properly.
President Macron also said, "I think the arrival of President Trump is a game changer, and I think he has the deterrence capacity of the U.S. to re-engage with Russia." But he also warned against capitulating to Russia. He said, "We want peace, and I think the initiative of President Trump is a very positive one, but my message was to say, be careful, because we need something substantial for Ukraine." He repeatedly emphasized the need for security guarantees to ensure that Russia keeps its promise, stressing that any agreement must be checked and verified. Macron also said this peace must not mean a surrender of Ukraine. It must not mean a ceasefire without guarantees. This peace must allow for Ukrainian sovereignty. But President Trump did not mention security guarantees. President Trump said that the cost and burdens of ensuring peace in Ukraine must be borne by European countries, not the United States. He said Europe is going to make sure nothing happens. At the joint press conference, Macron acknowledged that European countries must do more to strengthen the continent's defenses. To ensure the security of Ukraine, Macron proposed to strengthen its military capability. If necessary, British and French troops would be deployed in Ukraine to keep the peace. Earlier in the Oval Office, Macron said they will not be on the front line. They will not be involved in any conflict. They will be there to make sure that the peace is respected. President Trump says that he accepts the concept, as does Putin. President Trump told reporters, "Yeah, he will accept it. I have asked him that question. Look, if we do this deal, he's not looking for more war." President Trump has said that the U.S. and Ukraine are preparing a multi-billion-dollar mineral deal. According to Axios, the agreement will create a reconstruction investment fund, and Ukraine has pledged $500 billion, which is twice the amount of the United States. The U.S., in turn, hopes to recoup its past aid through the fund. And obviously, Russia is also keen to do business with the United States. President Putin has said that Moscow is willing to provide the United States with rare earth metal resources, emphasizing that Russia is richer in rare earths than Ukraine and is willing to cooperate with the United States. The situation now is very favorable to the United States. If Zelensky refuses to sign the agreement or offers conditions that are unacceptable to the U.S., then the U.S. can reach an agreement with Russia. Then Russia could exchange its rare metal resources for economic aid. President Trump emphasized that negotiations with Russia are going well. This may be the reason for his confidence that the ceasefire agreement can be reached quickly. Under the influence of the Trump administration's policies, on Monday, the United Nations Security Council passed a U.S.-drafted resolution that takes a neutral stance on the issue of war. America's acting envoy to the UN, Dorothy Camille Shea, described the U.S. resolution as a simple, historic statement that looks forward, not backward. A resolution focused on one simple idea: ending the war. Shea called it a first step, but a crucial one, saying it puts us on the path to peace. The UN Security Council is composed of 15 member states, and its resolutions are legally binding. However, due to Russia's veto power as a permanent member, all resolutions attempting to condemn Russia over the past 3 years have been vetoed. The resolution adopted by the UN Security Council this time is the first time in 3 years that a consensus has been reached on the Ukrainian issue. It is neutrally worded, and it does not directly condemn Russia. Russia's ambassador to the United Nations acknowledged a constructive change in the U.S. position on the war, stating, "This resolution, while not perfect, is an important starting point toward a peaceful settlement." President Trump's 25% tariff proposal on Canadian steel and aluminum imports hasn't started yet, but some Canadian businesses are already hurting over concerns with tariffs. Rahim Molu, the owner of Conquest Steel in Toronto, says that some Canadian distributors have put a hold on taking new American orders. Molu said, "We've had to shut down our night shift and roll them into the day shift temporarily." Canada has only one land international border, and that is with the United States, which is the world's largest consumer market. Therefore, the United States has naturally become Canada's largest international customer. In 2024, 3/4 of the goods that were made in Canada were sold to the United States. But when it comes to a tariff war, as is currently the policy of the Trump administration, dependence on the U.S. market becomes a weakness, and it could lead the Canadian economy into recession. Calgary columnist Corey Morgan wrote a piece discussing Canada's strategy on how to deal with U.S. tariffs. The Canadian government encourages its citizens to buy Canadian, which is certainly a solution, but it's not enough. Canada is a major producer of raw materials and natural resources. This is a part of the raw materials that people can afford not to buy from the United States. However, locally produced Canadian finished goods and fresh produce are limited in quantity, and they are expensive. Morgan argues that if Canada wants to reduce its dependence on the U.S., it must eliminate interprovincial trade barriers while expanding international trade. Canada has deep water ports to 3 oceans. Vancouver, Prince Rupert, Montreal, Halifax, and St. John all have marine ports. These are favorable conditions for the development of international trade, but these ports are extremely inefficient. According to the Container Port Performance Index of 2023, which assesses the efficiency of ports around the world, the Port of Halifax, which is the top-ranked Canadian port, is ranked only 108th, and the Port of Prince Rupert is 399th. The Port of Vancouver ranks second to last out of 348 ports in the World Bank's ranking of large ports. Inefficient ports increase the cost of imported and exported goods, making exports less competitive and raising the cost of imports. So why are these ports so inefficient? It comes down to the overall ideology of Canada. Canadian ports plan to increase efficiency through automation, but they face strong opposition from labor unions. Not only will workers at the ports go on strike, but so will workers on the railroads. This creates problems for the transportation of goods within Canada. British Columbia has attempted to expand port capacity, but has faced strong opposition from environmentalists and some municipal leaders. The Port of Montreal's expansion project has also been continually delayed and costs have almost doubled. So Canada needs to make a radical change if it wants to win this tariff war. In an effort to avoid President Trump's tariffs on China, Apple announced on Monday that it will invest $500 billion over the next 4 years to expand its U.S. facilities. The $500 billion investment includes construction of a new server manufacturing plant in Houston and a manufacturing academy in Michigan. The investment will also include expanded data center capacity in North Carolina, Iowa, Oregon, Arizona, and Nevada. Apple also plans to invest in corporate facilities and Apple TV programming in 20 states. Tim Cook stated, "We are bullish on the future of American innovation, and we're proud to build on our long-standing U.S. investments with this $500 billion commitment to our country's future. We'll keep working with people and companies across this country to help write an extraordinary new chapter in the history of American innovation." This will bring about 20,000 jobs to the United States. President Trump said last week they don't want to be in the tariffs. And on Monday, President Trump thanked Apple for the move on Truth Social. He wrote, "Apple has just announced a record $500 billion investment in the United States of America. The reason, faith in what we're doing, without which they wouldn't be investing 10 cents. Thank you, Tim Cook and Apple." A few days before Apple announced the investment, Tim Cook and President Trump had a meeting. It's interesting to note that Apple doesn't make many of its own products. Instead, it uses contractors. Many of Apple's consumer products are assembled outside of the United States, but many of the company's components are still made in the U.S., including chips from companies like Broadcom and Skyworks Solutions. The Trump administration has imposed an additional 10% tariff on all Chinese imports as of February 4th. Many of Apple products assembled in China could face this new tariff. On Monday, Apple said that it would work with thousands of manufacturing partners across the 50 states to produce more products in the U.S. factories. On Monday, doctors in the Congo and at the World Health Organization, the WHO, announced an unspecified deadly illness that has killed in a matter of hours, is spreading in the northwestern part of the Congo. It has killed more than 50 people. A medical director of the Bakoro Hospital, which is a local regional surveillance center, told the Associated Press that most of the patients died within 48 hours of the onset of symptoms, and that's what's really worrying. The latest outbreak occurred on January 21st in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So far, 419 cases have been recorded, of which 53 have died. According to the WHO office in Africa, the outbreak first began in the town of Boloko, where 3 children developed symptoms of hemorrhagic fever and died within 48 hours. There's a lot going on every day as the new administration is implementing its plan at full speed. Let's briefly check out a few recent topics. Yesterday, the Federal Communications Commission Chairman Brendan Carr shared a video of himself up in the clouds, celebrating what he considers one of the toughest jobs. He first posted a video talking with a crew member called Hassan, discussing his job. Carr wrote, "America's tower crews get the toughest jobs done. Look forward to joining Hassani atop this 1,800-foot tower today and answering the age-old question, how many chairs does it take to change a light bulb?" Then he posted another video high in the sky with the crew.
All right, made it to the top with Hassani and his crew. They're swapping out the lighting system up here. Wonderful day with them. America's tower crews get the toughest jobs done. Super grateful for their work.
On the same day, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem announced that she had identified some of the leakers who were responsible for releasing internal information. Previously, Noem suggested that some FBI agents were behind a leaked memo about an upcoming large-scale immigration and customs enforcement raid in the Los Angeles area. And now, in an interview on Fox, Noem said the leakers will be fired, but she did not specify which agency they belonged to or how many there were.
I have found some leakers. We are continuing to get more. They will be fired. There will be consequences. And remember, when they leak information to the press in order to blow an op, they are putting law enforcement lives in jeopardy. They are risking their lives and putting their families in the position where they'll have to live without those individuals any further. So you bet we have used every tactic that we have. If you remember, we talked just last week about how I'm using polygraphs to go after and to really interview these folks. Because we are a national security agency, I have that tool I can use. Also looking at their emails, looking at their communications. And it's amazing how these bureaucrats who have an agenda to stop the work that we're doing to bring safety to America, how they will sell each other down the river if it's just to protect themselves. So don't worry, I am doing everything to find these leakers and to get rid of them so that we can do our work and our law enforcement officers and agents can do it safely.
Recently, Vivek Ramaswamy has launched a bid for Ohio governor. Yesterday, Ramaswamy kicked off his candidacy at CTL Aerospace with a crowd holding Vivek for Ohio signs. President Trump also offered his support in a post on X by saying, Vivek Ramaswamy is running for governor of the great state of Ohio. I know him well, competed against him, and he is something special. He's young, strong, and smart. Vivek is also a very good person. He truly loves our country. He will be a great governor of Ohio. He will never let you down and has my complete and total endorsement. And in another move yesterday, the Social Security Administration announced that it is eliminating its Office of Transformation, calling it a wasteful department. Acting Social Security Commissioner Lee Dudick said in a statement, "This redundant office was created under the previous administration, and we are righting that wrong." And today, there was another news story regarding the previous administration. The House Judiciary Committee revealed a disclosure and claimed that the IRS, under President Biden, leaked taxpayer records of over 400,000 Americans. The committee also remarked that in May of 2024, an IRS spokesperson stated that more than 70,000 taxpayers were affected. We found out it's actually over 405 taxpayers. This is a massive scandal. Jim Jordan first launched his inquiry into these leaks last year. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember that every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you have already subscribed, we thank you. But please double check to make sure that you're still subscribed, because some of our audience have reported that they're somehow unsubscribed without their knowledge. We've also heard that many of you don't get notifications of our videos anymore on YouTube. So when you do subscribe on YouTube, please make sure to tap the notification bell as well. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth.